For me personally, Rosh Hashana has always been a time of reflection and contemplation. This year, in our Rosh Hashana newsletter, I felt that it would be appropriate for us at the Cape Town Holocaust and Genocide Centre to reflect on the work and opportunities presented to us during 2021 and share with you, our friends of the Centre, a glimpse into some of the highlights. Whilst the Centre and our permanent exhibition were sporadically closed due to COVID, we continued to work on developing new ways of working, offering interesting lectures to our adult audiences, and expanding on our education and enrichment programs.
People who look like me are the good ones. People who look like they're not so good. Those are that's what racism is. That's what racists think. Okay? So I want you to bear that in mind, because the Nazis decided that Jewish people had Jewish blood that was dangerous.
Holocaust education has always played an important role within the Cape Town Holocaust and Genocide Centre. By using the Holocaust as a lens, we are able to teach about prejudice, anti-Semitism, othering, marginalization of minority groups, etc. For many years, we have facilitated workshops for thousands of learners. Linda, with this in mind, how do you feel that the way of teaching has changed because of COVID?
Heather, it's been kind of a box of licorice, all sorts. We've really had to look, our message and our mission hasn't changed. It's just methods of delivery have changed. So for some schools, when the museums were allowed to have people, they came, but in much smaller numbers. We had to break them up into smaller groups and manage the learners just in a different way from a physical point of view. Other schools who couldn't come to us but didn't want to do online learning managed it by inviting a member of our education department to come to the school. So on a number of occasions, you had learners in massive spaces, big halls, so that they were socially distanced, and then with a big screen and the facilitator doing it at the school. And then we've had Zoom lessons that have been very successful with certain schools. And with other schools, our work that we did at the beginning of this whole thing, which was filming lessons and putting resources online that could be printed off, that's been used by a number of schools. So it's really been a bit of this and a bit of that. You know, in the time before COVID, the educators were always so busy with school groups that we really didn't have the bandwidth to try other things. And now with this, we're managing to actually reach a lot of learners, because when you are when the learners are in their space and you're in your space, you can have 3 educators doing 3 different groups at the same time. So it has allowed for more on the one hand, but less on the other hand, because of course, having kids come into our exhibition has an effect on them that nothing else really can. So that's been something that we've had to just accept, but we've worked really hard to create a situation where we sensitize kids to what happened and to what is happening. Yeah.
I think that it's quite remarkable that one has been able to be so creative in looking at hybrid formats of teaching learners. The educators becomes a different issue. And I remember a few months ago, you and I went to the Eastern Cape, and we had the most wonderful time. Maybe talk about why the Eastern Cape and what were the results of the workshops that we did.
Okay, so we went to the Eastern Cape. It was really, I'll just talk about the workshops quickly, because when normally we do teacher workshops, the teachers are sitting at round tables. There's a lot of sort of interaction amongst them. This time they were sitting again in huge halls at single desks, sort of more of a classroom approach. And I wondered how that was actually going to work. But heavens, it just worked amazingly. The teachers were so involved. They were so engaged. And I must stress that I was taken aback by how COVID the COVID regulations were maintained at all times. Everybody was masked and, sanitizing, etc. But in those workshops, we did one in Berkeley East, one in Queenstown, and one in Port Elizabeth, and they went exceptionally well. So, yeah.
I think what is quite interesting that even in times of COVID, we are often very scared to go out of our bubble.
Yeah.
We were able to reach at least 150 educators who otherwise would have known absolutely nothing about the Holocaust.
Ella,
when I see you you all.
I'm toasting you with tea. L'chaim.
The tea, l'chaim.
L'chaim. To all of you. Bis 120.
Under the umbrella of the South African Holocaust and Genocide Foundation, our Women's Day celebration further paid tribute to Ella Blumenthal in recognition of her resilience, courage, and transforming the lives of so many people through the sharing of her testimony. This was streamed to more than 300 households and ended with the screening of her film, I Am Here. I would like to thank Geordie Sank and Gabriella Bloomberg for allowing us to share their award-winning film at this event. Since 2007, we have held a commemoration for the more than 1 million people who were so brutally murdered in the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. As you know, since COVID, we have not been holding events at the center, but have been conducting all our lectures and commemorations via Zoom. However, this year there was a window of opportunity to present a live commemoration at the center. Ernest, what does the Cape Town Holocaust and Genocide Center represent to the Rwandan community?
Thank you, Heather. The center represents a home for the Rwandan community. This center, because the center, obviously, it's a center of education and is a center that has represent hope, because it gives us hope that even though we went through a bad past, together we can triumph and we can prevail and build a new society. And that is what we've managed to achieve. As you can see, we have, whenever we have a commemoration or we have the gathering, you'll see more and more Rwandans coming so that we can forge all together to make a Rwanda a better Rwanda.
If you look at the commemoration, throughout the 100 days that the Rwandans commemorate, and to mark the end of the genocide, you celebrate. What did you do for the celebration here at the center?
Recently, when we commemorated the end of the genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda, we were privileged to showcase the film of the 600 soldiers who went to Rwanda and were trapped in Rwanda during the negotiation before the genocide happened. And that film it shows how brave, young and old those soldiers were to try and stop genocide when it was occurring. And after the film, we had to obviously enjoy ourselves, because we also have to appreciate and salute the young and old who sacrificed their lives for us to have a country that we can call our country. Thank you.
Through the support of you, our friends of the center, and our generous donors, We continue to present a diverse range of Zoom webinars. Perhaps one of the positive outcomes of COVID is that we were able to invite speakers from around the world directly into your lounge. I would like to thank our various partners who shared the stage with us, including our sister centers in Johannesburg and Durban. I would like to share with you some of the highlights of our webinars.
This is the story more about you and your journey of discovery. That's what's going to make it more interesting than just a third person historical biography of your grandfather. And you have to write it in first person. And that was like another shock to me, I guess, another big change I had to overcome. It seems so hard and so difficult to like shift gears like that.
After his visit, Barbara Kinter was inspired and researched the Jewish community of her town and the history of her husband's family, and ends up finding out that her own home in the district of Alsergrund had actually once housed the second highest population of Viennese Jews in the city prior to 1938. In partnership with other residents of her building, as well as several historians they contact, she ends up piecing together the histories of the previous inhabitants of her own home, her own building. And the group that she brought together sought to track down the fate of each of the former Jewish inhabitants and to get in touch with any survivors or relations.
Prior to Burma's claiming its independence, the Rohingya were very much involved in everyday society. And even after Burma claimed independence, the Rohingya were considered citizens of the country for at least a decade or two after Burma's independence in 1948. They held university positions. They were members of parliament. They were engineers, doctors, teachers, they worked for civil society. A lot of them are farmers, obviously. But they were very, very much part and parcel of Burmese society at that time.
This is not a photograph of Jews. Again, this is the work of Jewish photographers. What they often did was say pictures of graduates. These are clearly Catholic students in Lithuania. Again, but this is a typical work of a Jewish photographer taking a picture of, say, students and recent graduates. Also, Jews took loads and loads of pictures of priests and nuns. That is a lot of their stock in trade. And here you see the photographer was Levinas from Jurbarkas in Lithuania. Again, nuns and priests made for really good photographic subjects. Also, seminary students, of course.
This page is called The Bread of Affliction. Sheikh highlights a well-known verse in the Haggadah, Hashana, as his hope for European Jews. It says, "Now we are slaves, next year we will be free." At the bottom, an eagle is stretched out, and that is a symbol of Nazi Germany. It watches over Jewish slaves both in ancient Egypt and in contemporary times. At the top, you can see a Jewish soldier who is fighting a beast. Both animals, the beast and the eagle at the bottom, bear a circular emblem. That's the emblem that Sheikh used in place of the Nazi swastika.
I know this has been a challenging year for all of us, and I would like to thank my team for all their hard work and dedication during this time. As we enter the festival of Rosh Hashana, on behalf of myself, the Board of Trustees, and the team of the Cape Town Holocaust and Genocide Center, I would like to wish you Shana Tova Umetuka, a good, healthy, and sweet new year, and well over the fast. If you missed any of our webinars, click below to watch previously recorded webinars and subscribe to our YouTube channel for future lectures.